Hey, what's going on, y'all? I came across this article last week and wanted to do a video because, as you guys know, if you've been following any of the videos or blog posts I put up previously, in the world of claims, I'm super fascinated in the AI and autopilot driving systems that we have nowadays. This article speaks about a Tesla case in Florida and very interesting. And just a quick kind of overview of the case itself. It's regarding an accident that happened in April 2019 where a Tesla S was in autopilot and it struck a parked Chevy Tahoe at almost 70 miles an hour and unfortunately killed the young lady and seriously injured her boyfriend. Now, this case is interesting because it's the first federal jury trial over a Tesla autopilot crash that involved fatalities. And in this case, the judge allowed punitive damages. And for those who don't know, punitive damages are a type of monetary award that a court can order to pay on top of the compensatory damages. So it's not meant to compensate the victim, but to punish the defendant for something that would be considered egregious behavior and to deter others from doing the same thing in the future. So this case is very interesting because it's the first time that a federal judge has allowed punitive damages. Now, the allegations being made by the attorney for the injured parties is the system needs to be geofenced to highways only, and this accident took place on a residential roadway. Autopilot in this case, recognized an obstruction but didn't warn the driver. And they market the auto driving system in a way that overstates its capabilities. Now, Tesla is arguing from their standpoint that autopilot is not fully autonomous and manual monitoring is required. And in this case, it looks like the driver admitted that he dropped his phone and overrode the controls. Now, the judge in this case did deny their argument. That didn't allow for punitive damages. So Tesla tried to have that removed, and the judge in this case allowed it to happen. Now, again, based on the claim sphere, the interesting aspect is, at least on that side, because obviously there's a human element involved, is for insurance companies, there's been a lot of uncertainty about the impact of the autonomous driving. If you saw one of my previous videos I did about the rollout of robo taxis in Texas, they're not as perfect and flawless as you would expect or hope. And I think that's a big issue now. The thing that's very pivotal for Tesla in this case is they have their robotaxi rollout going on. So there's a huge investment that they have pending in that rollout. And if this case should come back that is determined that the autopilot system failed in any way, shape, or form, that's going to potentially, impact their rollout. Now, for the insurance companies, they may start to look at shifting liability more to the manufacturers versus having to eat the liability on behalf of the drivers. For Tesla owners and buyers, it's just going to, put you on alert that you may want to understand that autopilot system isn't self-driving. I know we've all seen videos of people, sleeping in the car, playing video games on their phone. Again, I've been on up front, at least for me, I'm not comfortable with something else driving me. I don't know if it's the control freak in me or what, but I'm not comfortable with it. So on that side of it, for anyone who purchases or owns a Tesla, you just want to be aware that that system isn't self-driving to the full autonomous specification you may think. And then when you look at it from a investor standpoint, again, a verdict against Tesla and may open up case law going forward that's going to impact their ability to shield themselves from liability, which they've been able to do up until this point. And again, when you're talking about regulatory pressures, the autopilot system has drawn a lot of criticism and a lot of attention from the National Highway Transportation Safety Board and the Department of Justice, where they're calling for, just some sort of potential regulation on that stuff. And then when you talk about brand trust for Tesla, again, people obviously bought into this system thinking it'd be great to have a computer drive you around or an AI system. But again, you're starting to see more and more stories where this is an issue. And as I noted in that prior vlog post that I did, most insurance carriers don't have the time or money or don't want to invest in pushing this forward because they don't want to create the case law that allows Tesla to say, we don't have to provide you with our algorithm. But this type of a case can potentially put them in a position where they'll no longer be able to argue that. Um, Now, lastly, just some key takeaways. The case is probably going to redefine legal responsibilities if Tesla's found at fault here and move it from a driver liability to the manufacturer liability. Insurance companies are already charging a lot for Teslas. I've seen it written a few times that Teslas are one of the most expensive vehicles to insure, not only because of the parts, but because of that autonomous driving aspect and where there may be some hidden liability that companies don't want to take on. And then for Tesla owners and buyers, just knowing and understanding with clear expectations around what the capabilities of the autopilot system may be. And then lastly, again, we live in a country where people buy stock in these companies, and obviously 401ks and investments. The Nasdaq, ride on large companies like this, where investors are going to want to track this because it can impact their valuations, it can impact their rollouts for things like the robo taxi and future technologies. So, really interesting case to watch. I'm going to be keeping an eye on it, and I'll try to do a follow up video when this case is disposed of and there's a final decision made. But don't forget, Extension is the website. If you ever have a claims question, need some assistance, don't hesitate to reach out. But I appreciate y'all tapping in. Tried to keep it to 5 minutes or less, went a little bit over. But again, this is one of those articles that really is important for people to be aware of because we're all out there on the road next to these vehicles or potentially in them. So very interesting article and very interesting case to keep an eye on.